When you hear about a company's financial reports, you probably picture these, I don't know, dusty old spreadsheets, right? But a profit and loss account, or a P&L, it's not just a list of numbers. It's actually a story. It's the financial drama of a company's year, showing every win and every challenge. So let's dive in and read that story together.
Have you ever really wondered? A company can pull in millions, even billions in sales, but where does all that money actually go? What's left over at the end of the day? Well, that is the exact question we're going to answer right now.
All right, so we are going to follow the money. We're starting at the very, very top with the first dollar that comes in from sales. That's what they call the top line, and we're going to track it all the way down through this maze of costs and taxes until we see what's really left right there at the bottom line.
Now, before we kick things off, there's one super important rule for this whole journey. It's called the accruals principle. Now, that might sound complicated, but all it really means is that we record things when they happen, not necessarily when the cash changes hands. This just makes sure the story we're reading is accurate for that specific period, like, say, this financial year. Simple as that.
Oh, and a quick heads up on the lingo. Depending on where you are in the world, you might hear different names for the same exact thing. The P&L account? In the US, they usually call it an income statement. And what some call sales, you might hear as turnover, especially in the UK. Don't let it throw you off. It's the same story, just with a different cover.
Okay, so the ground rules are set. Let's get this journey started. We're beginning at the very top, with all the money a company brings in. This is our starting point, sales.
All right, let's use a nice, easy number to work with. Let's say our company has made $1 million in sales this year. That is our top line. A cool million. But, of course, you gotta spend money to make money, right?
So the very first thing we have to do is subtract the direct costs of whatever we sold. If we're making books, this would be the cost of the paper and the ink.
And for our company, let's say that comes out to $400,000. This is what's officially known as the cost of goods sold.
Okay, so after that first big deduction, we hit our first major milestone, gross profit. We started with $1 million, we spent $400,000 making our stuff, and that leaves us with $600,000. Not bad, but we are far from finished.
Right, so we've got our gross profit, 600 grand. But what about all the other stuff? The costs of just keeping the lights on? This next part of our journey takes us into the maze of all those day-to-day expenses, the ones you need just to run the business. These are often lumped together as selling and general expenses. And this is where you'll find things like salaries for the marketing team, the rent for the office buildings, the electricity bills, all that essential overhead.
But hidden in these expenses is a really weird one. It's a bit tricky. The source material even calls it not an actual sum of money paid out. It's a thing called depreciation. So what in the world is that?
Depreciation is actually a pretty clever accounting idea. Think of it this way. It's a cost, but no cash actually leaves the building. It's the company's way of acknowledging that big expensive things like machines or delivery trucks, they wear out. They lose value over time. So by putting depreciation in the books, the company is basically setting money aside on paper for the day it needs to replace that stuff. Pretty smart, huh?
Okay, so let's add up all those selling and general expenses, and we'll throw in that tricky depreciation too. For our company, the total comes to $250,000.
Now, when we take that number away from our gross profit, we land right here, $350,000 in operating profit. And listen, this number is a big deal. It tells you exactly how profitable the company's main business is before you start factoring in things like interest and taxes. It's probably the purest measure of a company's operational health.
All right, we are on the home stretch now. I can see the finish line from here, but there's still a couple of final, really big hurdles to get over before we can call it a day.
So what are these last two hurdles? Well, first, if the company borrowed any money, it has to pay interest on those loans. And second, of course, you can't forget about taxes. The government wants its cut, and that comes in the form of corporation tax.
So after we subtract those interest payments, we land on our pre-tax profit. For our little company, that's $300,000. Now, just one hurdle left, taxes.
And once the tax bill is paid, we've done it. We've finally made it to the end. We followed that $1 million in sales all the way down to the famous bottom line, $200,000 in profit after tax. This final number, this is what people call the company's earnings.
But hold on, the story isn't quite over. We found the treasure, right? We have our profit. But now the company has a massive decision to make. What do we actually do with this money?
And there are really two main paths it can take. Path number one, the company can pay out some of that profit to its owners, the shareholders, as a cash reward. That's called a dividend. Or, path number two, it can keep the money inside the business to fuel future growth. For new projects, more research, maybe opening a new factory. That's called retained earnings.
Now, for any investor who's been tracking this whole journey, there's one number that stands out above all the rest. Earnings per share, or EPS. This little metric takes that final profit number and boils it down to how much was earned for every single share. It's seen as the ultimate measure of profitability. It tells an investor how much value was created for each share they own, and it doesn't matter if that money is paid out or kept for the future.
And that leaves us with one final question to chew on. If a company decides to keep all of its earnings, if it doesn't pay out any dividends to its owners, what does that really mean? Is the company just being greedy, hoarding cash? Or is it the sign of a really smart, really ambitious company that's reinvesting every single dollar to build an even bigger, more profitable future? It's something to think about, right?